With the Barrie Colts being on the road this weekend, I don't have any games to broadcast. So I wanted to do something a little different here on the channel. A bit of a top 10 video here, talking about OHL Arenas. Now, this idea was inspired by OHL Arena Guide. It's an awesome website. It's got all the information about the current rinks, past rinks, and gives you a synopsis of what the atmosphere is like, what the parking situation is, and most importantly, gives you an address so you know where you're going. I actually use this site quite a bit when I traveled to cover the Kitchener Rangers in the 2010-2011 season. I drove myself across Ontario, Michigan, and Pennsylvania to cover the Kitchener Rangers for a radio station that I worked at. So this website came in handy. So just wanted to, bit of a shout out for OHL Arena Guide. He's actually visited all 60 CHL rinks to see junior hockey games. And with that, he ranked 60 through 1, which is quite impressive. He did have Brampton and Barrie near the bottom of that ranking. So that actually got us talking before one of the Barrie Colts broadcasts, Thomas Jean and I, talking about the different ranks and how we would rate each one. So I wanted to carry that over here to the channel. And of course, you can put your feedback down below what your favorite arena is and why in the comments section. But from my perspective, from broadcasting these games, I've used to travel on the road with the Sudbury Wolves when I was on their radio broadcast, and I, of course, with the Kitchener Rangers too, about 15 years ago now. But yeah, so this is my countdown. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts. But let's start things off. I'm only going to do the top 10. And starting at number 10, I have North Bay Memorial Gardens. Of course, that's the home of the North Bay Battalion. I love the atmosphere in North Bay. The fans, so passionate, especially when it's a sellout in the playoffs. I'm thinking back to when the Barrie Colts were playing North Bay in the second round of the playoffs 2 years ago. The fans were so into it. And you love that when you see it at a game where the fans, they kind of change the vibe in the building depending on the play. So the fans, the atmosphere, outstanding. It's got a bit of an old school feel too. The arena was built in 1955, so it does go back. But I like the brick wall at the one end of the ice. I don't know what it is about the brick wall, but it's just something that stands out to me. And it's like that screams North Bay. Whenever you see like maybe an image and in the background, you got that brick wall. It's like, yep, that was North Bay Memorial Gardens. The other cool thing is how the battalion come out in an inflatable tank. Like, where else are you going to see an inflatable tank? And I think that's just a cool touch. And they really play the whole battalion theme. They did that too when they were the Brampton Battalion, but it's nice to see that they've carried that over into their days with North Bay. At number 9, I have the Dow Event Center in Saginaw. And the Dow, it has this feel like Joe Louis Arena where the Detroit Red Wings used to play. I actually never got to go to a game in Detroit, but with what I saw on TV with just the way the staircases are set and the concourse above the lower bowl, it kind of like that's how I would envision Joe Louis Arena, except not as red. There's a lot more blues in Saginaw because, of course, the Saginaw Spirit have blue in their color. I also like the entrance to the rink. It's kind of this glass entrance. It's a circular shape. It's. I'm not an engineer or an architect, but it's pretty. It's nice. I'm just gonna say it. The other thing though is they like to spoil the media and scouts in the media room. I could even do a media room rankings 1 to 20, but the Dow Event Center, they have probably the best spread in the OHL right now when it comes to the media and the scouts room. So that's why I've got the Dow Event Center at number 9. At number 8, the Tribute Community Center in Oshawa. The fan base there, their passion so strong. Of course, there's so much history with the Oshawa Generals franchise. And what's also nice, I've driven to Oshawa a few times, even in the playoffs last year. Parking is great, especially for a downtown arena. If you've got an arena downtown, there's some rinks where parking can be a little hard to come by, but Oshawa, they do it right. And it also has one of the best broadcast vantage points. It's high up at center ice, right at center, and you have to take the catwalk, though, over center ice to get to it. If you're afraid of heights, that could be a little nerve-wracking. I know the first time I did the walk over the catwalk, a little unnerving, especially carrying all the radio equipment, but still, I love the Tributes Community Center. That's why I have it at number 8. At number 7, it's the Bay Shore in Owen Sound. It's picturesque, right on the Georgian Bay waterfront. There's a playground in the back, so if you go on a road trip in either the spring or the fall when there's no snow and there's no wind coming off Georgian Bay, it's a great spot to take the family. Very scenic. But inside, it's also pretty cozy. It's got a low ceiling, so it can get loud at the Bay Shore, and the fan base of the Owen Sound Attack, they know their hockey. They're right into it. And it's also another one of those great broadcast booths because of the low ceiling. You're over the ice, over the timekeeper's bench. And the thing for the visiting radio people, after the national anthems are over, it's the broadcaster responsibility, or it was when I did it with the Sudbury Wolves, to bring the flag back into the broadcast booth. Very unique. Love the view, and the Bayshore, one of the top 10 arenas in the OHL in my ranking. Number 6, I put the WFCU Center in Windsor. It's like a palace. Like the arena, it's huge. When you walk into it, it's amazing. Just the sight lines too are incredible. So you can't go wrong with any views there. And they also really go hard with the Spitfires theme too. I like it when there's an arena that fully embraces your team name. I know most OHL teams do that, but there's just something about the Spitfires. I know I never got a chance to see a game at the old Windsor Arena. There's been so many stories about that place. It sounds like it would have been amazing to catch a game there, but it's kind of carried over to the WFCU Center. I know it's not in downtown Windsor. It's more in the suburbs, but still, I love that spot. And it's kind of nostalgic for me too, because I got to cover the 2009 Western Conference Final between the Kitchener Rangers and the Windsor Spitfires, and the place was packed. There was no room in the press box. So I was actually put up in the rafters in one of the top corners. Great view, pretty high up, but still an experience I'll never forget. What a wild West final that was too. That's actually the only conference final I've been able to cover since starting my OHL career. Since then, the furthest the team has gone has been the second round of the playoffs. I've done that with the Sudbury Wolves once, and now the Barrie Colts a couple of times. But that's the only trip I've ever had to cover a conference final, and that was between Kitchener and Windsor, and the WFCU Center, Game 7. That place was loud. At number 5, I have the Peterboro Memorial Center. It's got the square corners, which makes it unique. I love when an arena has unique features such as that. We had it in Belleville with the Yardman with the Olympic-sized ice, and then you'd go to Peterboro with the square corners. When the puck goes around the boards, you don't know where it's going to go sometimes, and it gives you the home team advantage, which I think is kind of fun. There's also the Peterboro Sports Hall of Fame. Lots of great history in the Hall of Fame. If you go to a game at the PMC, check out the Hall of Fame. They've got some great stuff in there. And plus the history of the Peterboro Petes organization on full display. So definitely take advantage of that if you get a chance to go to a game at Peterboro. They do a great job with showcasing their history in the OHL. At number 4, I put the Sudbury Community Arena. I know I've got a soft spot because I used to cover the Sudbury Wolves, but the wooden ceiling, the first time I went to Sudbury when I was covering the Kitchener Rangers, that stood out to me right away. Just the classic ceiling. You also have the wolf in the rafters that comes across whenever Sudbury scores a goal, something that you don't see anywhere else with the home team. And now the Sudbury Wolves are doing the giant goal light with the water tower in downtown Sudbury. So I do like the uniqueness. That stands out to me. I also really like how they embrace the blue of the Sudbury Wolves with the walls and the seats. And when you go in there, you know who the home team is. There's no doubt. And also, I think Sudbury does have the best broadcast vantage point. It's high up in the ceiling, over center ice. Yes, the staircase to get up to the press box can be unnerving if you're carrying all that heavy equipment for radio or a television broadcast, but it is one of the best broadcast spots in the OHL. At number 3, I put Canada Life Place in London, or Budweiser Gardens, or the John Labatt Center, whatever you want to call it. I know for me, when I was in high school, it was the John Labatt Center, and that's the JLC was all the rage when it first opened back in 2002. And it's like a mini NHL arena. So when you go in there, you've got the lower bowl, the upper bowl, and just the show they put on is something else. It's probably one of the best places to catch an OHL game. The sight lines are fantastic. The arena is always packed. That's why it's kind of hard to get tickets, especially if you're an away fan. You got to get right on that if you're planning to do a road trip with your team. And it's also a good spot being downtown London. There's a lot going on down there. You can get a meal before, you can go to the pub. Parking, though, can be a bit of an issue sometimes. The parking lot at the arena is very small, so you have to find areas away from the rink and got to walk a little bit. But That's okay. Maybe in the middle of winter, not so much, but that's probably the only thing I would say is that parking can be a little bit of an issue at the Canada Life Place or Budweiser Gardens or John Labatt Center. It's changed names so many times. I kind of wish teams would pick a name and stick with it. I know it's corporate sponsorship and the city needs to make money and whatnot, but stick with a name. At number 2, I have the Erie Insurance Arena, and they have the loudest fans in the Ontario Hockey League. I've not yet been able to go to a game in Erie in the playoffs. I can imagine that in the regular season they're loud, but it's got to be another level come playoff time. So if you go to Erie as a visiting fan, be prepared for a loud fan base. And also the renovations they've done there are outstanding. I've covered games at the old Tullio Arena. It was kind of grimy and felt kind of run down, but then they did the renovations and it's just beautiful. Night and day. I really hope the Erie Insurance Arena is a place that they can host a Memorial Cup in the future. And also, it's downtown Erie and not far from some great shopping. So if you're coming down from Canada, the shopping down there is pretty nice. It's not too far from the arena and definitely worth the trip. I know it's a bit of a hike to get there. It's about 3 hours from Niagara, but still, if you go to Erie, it's going to be great. You're not going to miss out. So that leaves us with the number 1 arena on my list. It's the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. I don't know if this is going to surprise anyone. I know the Aud was the number 1 OHL arena on the Arena Guide post, and here it's number 1 for me too. And it's like a mini Maple Leaf Gardens of the OHL. So much history, and if you ever get a chance to go down to ice level, especially at the Zamboni entrance, and you just look up into the rafters with all the banners, the history, the championships, the retired numbers, it's just kind of it leaves you speechless with just how they put things on there. Also with the goal song whenever they score. I know the New York Rangers use that goal song too, but if you've seen my history video of the Kitchener Rangers, you'll understand why there's so much connection between the New York Rangers and the Kitchener Rangers. Also for me, the nostalgia. My first ever OHL game was when I was probably about 5 years old, was at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium when they were playing against the Detroit Junior Red Wings. So that kind of tells you how far back that was that I saw my first OHL game. So there's a lot of nostalgia. Of course, I also covered the Kitchener Rangers for a couple of seasons, and the Aud will always have a special place. Although when they raised the roof to add more seating, the broadcast booth, it is far from the ice. It's probably the only downfall is that they added more seats, which are great because they have the support and the interest. But man, the broadcast booth so far now from the action. You also have the rafters in the way that you can't see the scoreboard at center ice. So yes, there's some flaws, but the history, I don't want to put Kitchener down because of the whole broadcast booth situation. I'm just saying that as a note, but still, Kitchener, probably the best spot, in my view, to take in an OHL game. Now, some honorable mentions. I have the Kingston Frontenacs, the Slush Puppy Place. I love the location downtown Kingston. That's why it's getting an honorable mention. The Sioux GFL Memorial Gardens, the passion of Sault Ste. Marie, and then the history of how they took some of the artifacts from their old arena, put it into the new one, a great touch. And then Niagara, the Meridian Center, great. I loved that new car smell it had when we first did a broadcast there. The sight lines are fantastic, although the media box for the visiting radio inside the blue line, which makes it kind of tough when you're trying to call the game at the far end. But other than that, a great venue, although I love the Jack Gatecliff Arena. If I was ranking old arenas I've been to as well, I think that the Jack Gatecliff probably would be top 4 at least in my ranking. But that's how I see it. I just thought we'd do something different here. Let me know if this is something that you're interested in. Maybe I'll do more top 10 videos related to the OHL. Thank you very much for all your support. Remember to go check out the OHL Arena Guide. Very handy if you're planning to go on the road along with Stadium Journey. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Talk to you soon.